Well, more saber rattling regarding Iran. Here's an article by Paul Craig Roberts entitled More Lies, More Deception. The G20 ministers declared their meeting in Pittsburgh a success. But as Rob Call reports over at Op-Ed News, the meeting's main success was to turn Pittsburgh into a ghost town, emptied of workers and the usual pedestrians, but filled to overflowing with over 12,000 SWAT cops from all over the U.S. This is freedom and democracy at work. The leaders of the G20 countries, which account for 85% of the world's income, cannot meet in an American city without 12,000 cops outfitted like the Emperor's stormtroopers in Star Wars. And the U.S. government complains about Iran. The U.S. government's complaints about Iran have reached a new level of shrillness. On September the 25th, Obama declared, Iran is breaking rules that all nations must follow. The heads of America's British, French, and German puppet states added their 2 cents worth, giving the government of Iran 3 months to meet the international community's demands to give up its rights as a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Treaty to nuclear energy. In case you don't know, the term international community is shorthand for US, Israel, and Europe, and a handful of arrogant and rich countries that oppress the rest of the world. Who is breaking the rules, Iran or the United States? Iran is insisting that the U.S. government abide by Non-Proliferation Treaty that the U.S. originated and pushed and that Iran signed. But the U.S. government, which is currently engaged in 3 wars of aggression and has occupying troops in a number of other countries, insists that Iran, which is invading and occupying no country, cannot be trusted with nuclear energy capability because the capability might in the future lead to nuclear weapons capability. Like Israel's or India's and Pakistan's, all non-signatories to the Non-Nuclear Proliferation Treaty, countries that, unlike Iran, have never submitted to IAEA inspections of any kind. Indeed, at this very moment, the Israeli government is screaming and yelling anti-Semite to the suggestion that Israel submit to IAEA inspections. Iran has submitted to those inspections for years. In keeping with its obligations under the treaty, on September 21st, Iran disclosed to the International Atomic Energy Agency that it is constructing another nuclear facility. This was on the 21st. The British Prime Minister Gordon Brown confused Iran's disclosure with serial deception and declared, "We will not let this matter rest." What matter? Does Gordon Brown think that Iran's disclosure to the IAEA is a deception? By the way, Iran declared that facility. It came out in the open with it. And an interesting article, which I will post a link to here as well, is one by Scott Ritter, who is a former UN arms inspector and is familiar with the situation in Iran. So he has a slightly different tack on it, but he also suggests that this reaction by Western states is completely uncalled for at this point. Not to be outdone in idiocy, out of Obama's mouth jumped the Orwellian doublespeak. The Iranian government must now demonstrate through deeds its peaceful intentions or be held accountable to international standards and international law. The incongruity blows the mind. Here's Obama with troops engaged in wars in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, demanding that a peaceful nation at war with no one demonstrates its peaceful intentions. It is the U.S. government and its NATO puppets and militarist Israel, of course, that need to be held accountable to international law. Under international law right now, these governments are war criminal governments. The effort to build pressure for acts of war against Iran continued despite the repeated declaration from the IAEA that there is no sign of an Iranian nuclear weapons program. Meanwhile, the US and Israeli governments, who are so solicitous of international law and holding other countries accountable that violate it, have moved to prevent the report by Judge Richard Goldstone from reaching UN Security Council. Why? Because Judge Goldstone's report found Israel guilty of war crimes in its massive military assault against civilians and civilian infrastructure in Gaza. Ahmadinejad told the General Assembly that what most of the UN representatives already know, that selfishness, insatiable greed have taken the place of such humanitarian concepts of love, sacrifice, dignity, and justice. Lies have taken the place of honesty. Hypocrisy has replaced integrity, and selfishness has taken the place of sacrifice. Deception in foreign affairs is called foresight, and statesmanship, looting the wealth of other nations, is called development efforts. Occupation is said to be a gift that promotes freedom and democracy, and defenseless nations are subjected to repression in the name of defending human rights. America will not be satisfied until, like Rome, she has more enemies and more wars than she can survive. Please take a look at the links I'm posting as well.